Up in the sky. It's a bird.
It's a plane!
It's Superman!
From its very first appearance in Action Comics #1, Superman is shown right on the cover performing a feat beyond any ordinary human. Readers were introduced to a man that was faster than a speeding bullet,
more powerful than a locomotive, able to leap tall buildings in a single bound. Superman!
But ever since then, Superman has been the blueprint for the superhero, not only for the numerous copycats, but the idea of an individual who has some extraordinary power that triumphs anything in our reality, using them to do good. Sure, he had predecessors, but Superman was what became to define the genre. And it's also why his name doesn't have any specific gimmick like Batman or Spider-Man or Iron Man. He is simply Superman. But because of his superness, one constant criticism I've heard about the Man of Tomorrow and his stories is that they're unrealistic. Specifically, it seems like there's been a huge surge of this sentiment after James Gunn's new Superman movie. Superman is a campy, comic booky disaster. 2025 Superman still feels corny. Maybe it's the colors? Everyone goes home in a limousine. It's neat and clean and not at all how the world works, even in most comic book movies. And this, Superman is unrealistic has really been bothering me. But this does beg the question, what is a realistic Superman? Well, maybe it's this. I've seen a lot of people recently put forward the argument that Man of Steel is a valid take on Superman, just different. Or go as far as saying Man of Steel struck that perfect balance in Superman as stoic god and flawed man. Now, full disclosure, I'm not the biggest fan of Zack Snyder or Man of Steel, but to a point, I see where this is coming from. Snyder took the question, what would a real person with Superman's powers actually be like, and answered it without fundamentally changing his origin. Man of Steel's Clark Kent isn't born in a lab or trained by a Kryptonian empire. He still grows up on a farm in Kansas. But the novel change is that despite growing up with humans, this Clark, or should I say Kal-El, is disconnected and feels like an outsider to humankind.
You will give the people of Earth an ideal to strive towards. But in time, they will join you in the sun, Kal.
The entirety of Man of Steel is built on this. The tone, the themes, the plot, even to the iconic suit looking more otherworldly. Really the only thing this Superman got from his Earth parents is how to ore farm.
Oh my god, bro.
Oh, hell no, man. What the fuck, man?
Regardless, this premise is different and intriguing. A Superman who is more rooted in his alien side than his human side. And with this framework in mind, it's not surprising to see why Man of Steel's interpretation of Superman is the way it is. But all that considered, why do people still dislike Man of Steel? And furthermore, Snyder vs. Superman? And why do I think, at the end of the day, this doesn't work as a Superman story? Well, personal preference does play a role, and I'll admit I have a bias here. But there is one thing that fundamentally doesn't work about Snyder's Superman. He lacks humanity. By delving so deep into Superman being an alien angle, the balance between him being an alien but also a human becomes one-sided. Now, this isn't so terrible in Man of Steel. There are still glimpses of him being human, and overall I think it's handled relatively well. But I suspect this has something to do with Nolan being involved in the writing process of Man of Steel, where by the time Snyder had near full creative control over the DCEU, Aura Man looks mildly inconvenienced by motherfucking Congress blowing up while it's full of people while he's in it. Don't get me wrong, I'm not writing off Zack Snyder's Superman as a whole. There is actually some really good stuff here trying to shine through. But at every turn, for each substantive or interesting moment, there's 5 other things that are all some form of character assassinations.
Next time they shine your light in the sky, don't go to it. The bat is dead. Bury it.
Oh yeah, but he couldn't move this fast when the chair blew up. This isn't a debate about if you prefer stoic and somber Cavill Man or hopeful and bright Core and Sweat Man. Because honestly, both sides are a part of the character. It's really up to each respective writer on which aspects to emphasize and explore. But there are things that are so fundamental to a character that it literally stops being that character without it. And in the case of Superman, it's his humanity. It's like Batman without his no-kill rule. If you freely give him a pass where Bruce is fucking gunning people down left and right like he's Rambo, then that's kind of a different character entirely. Similarly, strip Superman of his humanity, you get Homelander, Omni-Man, Ultraman, or Injustice Superman, who are all considered dark reflections and considered separate from the normal Superman. And before you finish writing your comment, I'm by no means saying that Snyder's Superman was evil like those other examples. I think he was a bit careless, but he wasn't evil. But him being evil or not is not important. What matters is that these characters all have the common feature of lacking humanity, even if they all reach that through different means. And yes, thankfully, Henry Cavill did occasionally get to show this side of a Superman.
We hope. Well, I knew you didn't bring me back because you like me.
Civilians.
While, surprise surprise, those are his best moments, they're few and far between moments of godly benevolence, not humanity per se. I think that's the prime reason why ultimately this Superman didn't work. But it's also why this Superman does. Like I said, it's not that bright and campy is just inherently better, but Superman is himself when he's human. When he can goof around with Jimmy, when he has trouble handling his rambunctious dog, and when he breaks down into literal tears at even a single innocent life lost. Because that is core to who Superman is. And I think the fatal flaw that the realistic and grounded takes on these characters have is thinking showing humanity is unrealistic, especially when it comes to Superman. Because I don't agree. I don't agree that that's unrealistic. Yeah, of course we can't literally fucking fly, but if someone could, is it so unrealistic that they might have the decency to stop people from dying? To look towards the good in people rather than grimacing at the ugly side? To save the life of a small squirrel when they fully have the power to? In his debut, Superman wasn't having epic cosmic adventures or defeating evil scientists or fighting to his death against Doomsday. He stopped petty crimes, domestic abusers, and corrupt politicians.
I'm here to fight for truth and justice in the American way.
You're gonna end up fighting every elected official in this country.
Sure you don't really mean that, Lois?
He dealt with the realest of issues. He was the most realistic. Just because he has superpowers and that gives him the ability to stop these things, at least temporarily, doesn't make the effort and struggle to fight them any less realistic. And nearly a century later, he's still doing that exact same thing, fighting against the realest of issues. Yeah, of course in real life we can't solve these conflicts with a magic ring, T-balls, or a person that went from a hawk to a girl. I mean, even within the movie, this is a major point of conflict between Lois and Clark, as well as Superman and the general public. But I think within this movie's world, as well as the real world, being realistic has been conflated with lacking humanity. When faced with challenges, doubts, and questions about the world looking grim or hopeless, some will answer by saying that the world is grim and hopeless. There are those who genuinely want to do the right thing, but when we act, even with the best of intentions, realistically, isn't there always a consequence? No good deed goes unpunished, that's just how the world is. Yes, people dying is bad, but... And how could anyone possibly be so good, even in a story? That's unrealistic. That's living in a dream world.
Good. Dreams save us. Dreams lift us up and transform us into something better.
When Superman is asked the same questions, he answers differently. Yes, his actions are criticized. Yes, he's called simple-minded and naive. And yes, maybe his solutions are temporary and he's stuck playing a never-ending game of whack-a-mole against evil. Yet he still chooses to see the good in people, act in kindness because he can, and believes in truth, justice, and a better tomorrow. It directly represents the ideals we should uphold. No matter how impossible that may sound, and how bad the world might look at times, to Superman, that's no excuse for not trying. And how is that not the realest thing ever?